Welcome to the Explainer. We hear it all the time, right? AI is creative. But what if it's all just a really, really good magic trick? Today we're going to dig into a pretty wild idea, that AI isn't actually inventing anything new. It's just a master chef expertly blending ingredients we already created.
I mean, you've seen it. Every single day, AI is pumping out these unbelievable images, poems, even computer code that just feels like, well, magic. But the paper we're looking at today asks a really important question. Is just being new and surprising the same thing as being genuinely creative? Is there a difference?
And that right there, that's the central paradox. An AI can make something that has, technically, never existed before, and yet, it might not be creative in the slightest. The key thing to wrap your head around is this. New doesn't automatically equal meaningful creation.
So the paper we're diving into argues that what these AI systems are doing, it's not invention. Not really. It's more like a super sophisticated kind of averaging. They're like master blenders. They take all this human creativity they've been fed, and they just find the perfect statistical sweet spot in between all those existing ideas.
Okay, so this whole idea of blending instead of inventing, this is where we get to the absolute heart of the argument. It all comes down to a huge distinction between two totally different ways of making something.
And that key term is interpolation. Okay, think about it like this. Imagine you have two dots on a piece of paper. Interpolation is just drawing a straight line between them and picking a point somewhere in the middle. You haven't discovered anything new, you haven't left that predefined line, you're just filling in the gaps. The AI doesn't understand the rules that put those two dots there in the first place, it just knows how to connect them.
And this example, this is where it all just clicks. Look at these two images. Both of them hit the target, right? They both look like skulls. But how they came to be, well, they couldn't be more different. The skull on the left was discovered. It evolved step by step. The one on the right, the AI just jumped straight to the finish line. It was optimized to look like a skull, and that's it.
So you might be thinking, who cares how it got there? It looks like a skull. Well, here's the problem. Inside the AI's brain, the understanding of that skull is a complete mess. The paper calls it a fractured and entangled representation. Basically, it's super fragile. It's like bad spaghetti code. You nudge one little thing and the whole program could just collapse. Why? Because it never actually learned the structure of a skull. It just learned to copy a picture.
And this leads to the most important takeaway here. The journey matters. The path you take to get to an idea, its history, that's what gives it real structure and makes it solid. It's not just about ending up with a skull, it's about the entire journey of discovery that led you there.
There's actually a cool word for this from biology, phylogeny. It's basically the evolutionary family tree of a species. And the paper's big claim is that ideas have a phylogeny too. True creativity isn't just a random leap into the void. It's a build. It respects the history, where each new step is built on top of and constrained by everything that was discovered before it.
So let's look at the journey of that good skull, the one on the left. This is what's so fascinating. The process didn't start by telling the computer, make a skull. No way. It started with just a bunch of random shapes. Then, a human user saw something kind of interesting and said, hey, let's select for things that are symmetrical. And boom, just like that, symmetry became a new rule of the game. It became a constraint. From that point on, the exploration kept going, but now it had to play by that new rule. And eventually, a recognizable skull just emerged.
And this is what researcher Kenneth Stanley is talking about. He says this process locks in those discoveries. Symmetry isn't just a feature anymore, it's a fundamental building block. You're not just getting a picture of a skull, you're creating what he calls an unbelievably elegant hierarchy of representation. Now that is something with real structure. That's solid.
Okay, so all of this, it brings us to this huge philosophical debate at the heart of AI research. It really makes you stop and ask, what even is intelligence? Is it just about getting to a goal as fast as possible? Or is it something else?
So in one corner, you've got people like Francois Chollet. You probably know him. He created the Keras Deep Learning Library. For him, intelligence is all about efficiency. It's a simple measure. How good is a system at learning the skills it needs to solve a bunch of specific problems? Get from A to B, fast and clean.
But then, in the other corner, you have Kenneth Stanley with this totally different take. He says that focusing on a single fixed goal, that's actually the dumb part.
The smart part, the truly creative part, is the exploration without a map. The ability to just wander and stumble upon amazing things you never even knew you were looking for.
So you've got these two completely different philosophies. Chalette's view is like a sprinter, laser-focused on the finish line. It's incredibly powerful for solving known problems, but it's completely blind to anything interesting just off the side of the track. Stanley's view, though, is more like a hiker exploring a forest. They're looking for interesting stepping stones, not a destination. It's slower, sure, and you might get lost, but that's where you might just discover a whole new world.
Right, so what happens when you ignore the path, forget about all that history, and just optimize for the finish line? Well, you don't get creativity. You get what the paper calls, pretty bluntly, AI slop. And you've seen this stuff. AI images with six-fingered hands or articles that sound right but are filled with totally made-up facts. It's stuff that technically hits the target but has zero real understanding behind it.
And that's our imposter skull, right there. It's the poster child for AI slop. It checks the box. Yep, looks like a skull. But it's completely disconnected from the deep structural history of what a skull actually is. It's a hollow shell, and I think that hollowness is exactly what people are reacting to when they see all that slop online.
And you know, this isn't some brand new idea. It connects back to a term from creativity research called pseudo-creativity. The idea is simple. You can make something that's new and maybe even useful, but if the thing making it has no real intent, no authenticity, no internal spark, it's just not the real deal.
Okay, so where do we go from here? If today's AI is kind of stuck in this world of interpolation, just generating ever more sophisticated slop, how do we get to actual, genuine creativity?
Well, the paper suggests the answer isn't to just sit around and wait for AI to magically figure it all out. The most promising path is actually collaboration, a partnership. It's this idea of human-AI co-creativity, where we put ourselves back in the driver's seat. The AI can be the engine, exploring millions of options at lightning speed, but we provide the steering wheel. We bring the judgment, the context, the understanding of the rules. We provide that phylogeny, that history that the AI is missing.
AI expert Melanie Mitchell puts it perfectly. She says, a massive part of creativity is being able to look at what you've made and judge it, to understand it. And that's exactly what AI can't do. It can spit out a million images, but it can't take a step back and ask, wait, is this actually any good? Does this mean anything? Does it fit? That critical eye, that sense of taste, that is the uniquely human part of the equation.
And that leaves us with a really fascinating thought to chew on. Maybe real creativity isn't about just breaking all the rules. Maybe it's about deeply understanding the existing rules so you know which new ones to create. So in the end, the big question isn't, can AI be creative by itself? The real question is, what could we create together? If we merge our deep human understanding with AI's insane ability to explore, what kinds of new worlds are just waiting for us to build?